I'm here with my friend Gage Smith. If you aren't familiar, didn't see part one, Gage is working on one of his first short stories. And so part one, we talked through some story ideas and some practical ideas of how to actually write it. And we set a goal for July 15th to finish the rough draft. And you did it.
I did.
You texted me on July 15th and said just finished. So
yeah,
perfect.
1 a.m.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So what we want to do now is follow up and kind of talk about how the process was. We'll do a little bit of actually in-depth review of the story. It's a rough draft, so obviously there's plenty there, and I'm not gonna I was joking off camera that I was just gonna roast him because he hasn't heard any of my thoughts yet.
I'm just crying on camera.
Yeah, you're just gonna roast the story, but no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna be constructive. But the goal is for this series, these two videos, is to help you all see the practical steps of writing a story. A lot of times we read a book or we read a story and it's finished, right? It's pristine. And we're like, I could never do that. I can't write that well. Well, you don't see the backstory. You don't see this. You don't see the 1 a.m. working on first drafts and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to pull back the curtain a little bit to show you it's possible that you can do that this is the process of what it looks like. So let's jump off from there. What just some general thoughts on what it was like to write your short story?
I think overall I had a good time. I think I had a month and a half, since our last video, and not every day was spent writing.
Sure.
There is some long breaks in between with busyness, but also just some overwhelming feelings of whatever resistance looks like, where I just couldn't think of anything, or I was a little nervous about trying to write something. But then when I would really lock in, some of it was setting a timer and just keeping my hands on the keyboard. Other times it was almost 1:30 and I was just like, okay, I got to get this done by tomorrow. And
sure.
I really did enjoy the process. I did feel like I could feel myself feeling along with the character that I was writing to, which was kind of fun. So, and kind of fascinating to me as well. So it was good. I really did enjoy it, and the deadline helped. So
great. Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting advice. You might have seen write every day, right? And some people are like, yeah, do that. Even Ray Bradbury says that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, of course. But then you're like, oh man, I didn't write yesterday. Now I feel bad about that. And then that just kind of piles up.
It did pile up, yeah.
And so it's like, is this the most helpful or not? I don't know. I tend to write in clusters too. Like my very first novella, I wrote during NaNoWriMo in 21 days, just a sprint, just 30,000 words in a sprint. And then I don't think I wrote anything for a year after that. And so it's whatever makes sense to get words on a page, right? And so, yeah, I that you mentioned that made me think about that. Okay, so let's dive into the specifics. You sent it over to me.
I did.
I was able to read it.
Cool.
I thought it was great.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I don't know if maybe we can post it or share the rough draft if any of you are interested in reading it. The way that you approach telling the story felt like very mature writer way of doing it.
Okay.
And so when I started writing short stories, it very much here's our character. He went here. He fought this guy.
Sure.
And then this happened. And then this happened. This happened. This happened. In your story, it's very reflective, and you're kind of jumping around in time a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's so effortless. You're doing, since there's it's very memory based, right?
Yes.
And he's very, very reflective. And so there's not a lot narratively that happens, right? He's in his garage the whole story, and he's just separating things. And so from a narrative perspective, it's not boom 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 boom, which is hard. That's what makes me feel like, wow, this is from a much more mature writer. The way you approach that.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I thought all of that worked seamlessly.
Cool.
He's reflecting on things, and it's bringing up this other little kind of story, but then you bring us back into the main story of it too. So what was your thoughts behind that? Were you thinking about that, or were you just, this is all I know, this is how it came to me?
I think maybe a little bit of both. If it did, well, for those of you who haven't read it, it is about a guy who finds a guitar in his garage, and it's unlocking some of his memories and things of loss and stuff. But a little bit was natural. That was kind of my hope. It was also a little nerve-wracking. You go is this going to make any sort of sense?
Sure.
He has not moved, but I've said now he's sitting on a stage next to his father.
Yeah.
And so there was moments like there where I was like, well, I just hope it works.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people I read, I read a lot of Stephen King, and he flashes back constantly, and it's almost always within a paragraph, you're just like, okay, I'm somewhere else. I
Sure.
think I should be. So not to say I'm like emulating him, but some of the things I'm used to are doing some of those flashbacks, hopefully like that.
Cool.
So, I don't know if it was effortless. I did work pretty hard on it, but
yeah.
it,
I
it
say effortless.
yeah, sure. But like,
Yeah.
I think
It
came
came across
naturally.
though.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I appreciate it. I was like, oh, this is a different way of doing it, which is great. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's
thank
really
you.
cool.
Thanks.
Let's talk about the ending. then.
Okay.
It's not happy. Really.
No, it's not. No, it's not a happy ending.
Yeah.
My outline I sent to you, like,
Yeah.
so after we filmed our first video, I sat down for an hour and wrote out an outline after just like the brain burst that we had. And I sent it to you, and it was a completely different ending.
Yeah.
That maybe he would just take the guitar inside and embrace the memories, but then it instead was him kind of rejecting them, and maybe showed like no growth. But it was something I just came up with a couple weeks later, and I was like, I think that might be how a tragedy should end, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking through as I'm reading it, and it's obviously we were jumping back in time, and then the funeral, which I assumed was farther back in time too, but then you have the line that it was today.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that was today. Like, this is happening quickly here. And so that actually helped soften the blow for it not to be a happy ending.
Sure,
because you're like, this is all happening so fast.
Sure.
That it totally makes sense that he's not done processing this grief the same day. Yeah. So I think that was a good touch, because you're like, here's all these past memory things, then here's this thing that you think is past, and it technically is, but also it's very raw and very fresh still. And so I was totally expecting a happier ending from the outline, or just
for sure,
in general. So yeah, I appreciate that. I think going forward into future drafts, maybe clarifying that the funeral was today after the reveal of that, and just making sure, like, maybe even it's just a line of like, and everything's still very raw, like it's too soon to see this or something. Then that helps set us up for a not happy ending either, which I don't think you should change the ending. I think that's great.
Cool. Thank you.
Just showing the real grief, and then he smashes the guitar. Yeah, that was intense. That's intense.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah. It actually, this is like so specific.
Sure.
But I play acoustic a little bit. I just know some chords and stuff, and so it's fun. And I was playing the other night, and my son, who's 6, comes out of his room, and it's like 9 o'clock, so he's been in bed for a little bit, but he's not asleep yet. But he comes out and asks if he can just play or hang out. And so we played guitar a little bit, and I was like, so that I'm reading this about this guy who's playing guitar with his dad, and I'm like,
It's a snapshot,
for me specifically. So that added a whole other level of like relatability and guilt, even because he's asked other nights, can we play guitar? And I'm like, not tonight, buddy. So that was cool. And I think other people, even if they don't have that specific of a thing, will be able to relate to it that way too. So cool. So what would you do different? If maybe you don't have much. I mean, you've written 2 or 3 short stories now, and so you're still trying to figure out what is my process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just what would you do different if you're approaching a short story from scratch again?
Sure. I think because it's one of the first I've done, like I feel like I tried to do a ton, like try and have like a lot of thoughts like with the narrative, and then also I was like trying to like sprinkle some like poetry in between as like the music is floating through the air.
Is that all original?
And so that maybe part of me was like trying to do a lot and trying to fit everything I could in case I never write again or something. I was like, and so I don't know. I think I would probably just try and specialize if I could, especially as I'm like learning the process. That did kind of slow me down. Like in some points I did go like, I really do have to come back to this. And then I wrote the ending. I'm feeling every emotion he's feeling, I think, at least attention. And then I was like, well, I got to jump back like 3 memories ago to a happy memory and see if like, can I come up with something for this poem part? And so that made it a little bit more difficult, but I don't know if I would do it differently. I think I would like to be a little more disciplined and not write the second half in one night, but that's just kind of the nature of deadlines. And so, but yeah,
cool. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it felt more mature because that's like, you're doing so much more with the story there. And so there is the balance of, do you write a simpler short story, but then you're less excited about it, right? Or does it feel like a challenge?
Yeah.
Or you say, I'm going to do this more challenging one, but it's going to take me longer
Yeah.
to do it. And that's just, well, you have to figure that out, for yourself and balance it. And the deadline is just what we set, it's
Yeah,
arbitrary. And I think it is helpful to set deadlines and tell people, but also you say, it's not, I've been working on this, but it's still not coming. So I'm going to extend my deadline or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, okay, so let's talk about last thing here. Let's talk about next steps.
Yeah.
So now what is your plan for this story now going forward? And I'll tell you what I think you should do with it.
Okay, that'll be helpful.
Yeah.
I think as a writer, my first thought next step is like I need to brainstorm some more stories and actually keep my hands on the keyboard, I think, which is a goal for hopefully this next week or so.
Sure.
And then as for like editing and revising, I feel like the poems need to be hit first, I think.
Okay.
And then I also was like, oh gosh, I don't know what the heck I did with my verb tenses throughout the whole thing.
Sure, yeah.
That was when I was like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do here. Some of it feels past tense, not even the flashbacks, but some of it feels past tense, some of it feels very present.
Yeah.
And so that's like, well, I'll have to kind of analyze, I think, a little bit. But those are like the one thoughts I have for editing and revising so
Great.
far.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think, identifying the poems, and you can even pull them out now. And since you have the full thing,
Sure.
let's just look at this as a poem itself and set up as part of the story.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then all those things that you're talking about with the verb tenses and stuff is just, your basic editing. Everybody has to do that.
Yeah.
I would say focus on clarity of like those flashback moments and like those transitions of when you're coming into back to the garage and then you're going to a memory, and just helping making those clear but also fluid and smooth still. And that's where beta readers can help with that shit.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I've read it now.
Sure.
You can send it to a couple people once you get another version, and they can help. And you can ask, when you're sending it to people, if you can ask very specific questions, that makes it easier for them to give feedback. If you say, what do you think of this story? They'll say, it was good. And that's not really helpful.
Yeah.
You say, what do you think about the transitions between the memories? And then they can give you very specific feedback on that.
That will be helpful.
But then after that, I think you should send this out and try to, there's a ton of online magazines or online publications or something like that would love to have a story like this.
Really?
Very relational, that's dealing with grief and memory and creativity. I think it checks a lot of those boxes that would have a pretty wide appeal. So,
cool.
We can have those conversations too. I can help you.
Can't wait,
There's tons of services and ways that you can find magazines that are looking for things and stuff like that. There's one site, it might be a little too long for this, but it's called Everyday Fiction. They do flash fiction.
Okay.
And they published my first story. My first money I ever made writing. They published this short little story for $3. It was awesome.
That is awesome.
It was so fun. I'm forever indebted to them. They took a chance on me, so that was fun. So there's a lot of publications like that.
That's very cool.
Like that. So yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I hope this was helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was fun.
I know there's been some of you all watching along, and you've been commenting that you've been writing too, and you wrote a short story in the same time that Gage did. So comment below, let us know what your next steps are for that and for the editing process for that. But that's all we have for today. Until next time, jump, build, fly. I said it this time.
I love it.